Does curiosity feel safe or risky to you?
I think both, because curiosity, for one, it keeps your brain going. However, curiosity can fuel unsafe thoughts.
I'm Brenda Sue, and I've been a hairdresser for years, which means I hear a lot of stories. In this podcast, my clients explore a single word in each episode. Not the dictionary meaning, but what the word actually means to them. Real voices, real stories, one word at a time. Welcome to Clips and Conversation. Last week, we talked about listening and how it helps us understand someone else's perspective. But real listening takes curiosity. You have to want to understand how someone thinks, how they feel, what shaped them. And when you do, it becomes a really beautiful tool, not just for hearing others, but for expanding your own world. Our guest word today, curiosity. I've always been the kind of person who wants to understand why, especially with things I'm interested in, probably just like everybody else. But I remember when I was young hearing that your hair grows faster if you trim the ends. I thought, doesn't hair grow from the roots? So when I went to hair school, that is what I wanted to figure out. And they were right, just not the way I thought. Because if you don't trim your hair, it breaks off. So by trimming it more often, it seems to grow faster. I just needed it to make sense to me. But curiosity doesn't just show up in learning. It shows up in our relationships too. When I picked this word, I couldn't believe how something could end with no conversation, no curiosity, just assumptions. No one asking, wait, what happened? Help me understand. And I keep thinking, if we were just a little more curious before we decide, before we assume, before we walk away, just be curious. What does curiosity mean to you?
I always find that people that are curious, they tend to just keep growing and progressing in their life because they're just curious about the world. They're curious about learning and they're teachable. It's like Walker, he was always curious. He always wanted to, he'd ask a million questions about things, and he still does, like whether the earth is round or flat. That's a gift if people are curious. If they're not, they're kind of like
Stuck.
Yeah, it's just like, you're not curious about anything? You don't want to learn? There's so much we don't know, so.
How about you boys? Curious?
Oh, yeah.
What are you curious about right now?
The world's
Yeah.
probably flat.
Yeah? What do you think? What do you come up with?
I think it's flat.
When I see curiosity, I think of other words with the same root. I thought of curate because I think we all have our own experience in life and we curate our own curiosity. I thought cure too because maybe one cure to an unfulfilling life is to be curious.
Curiosity for everybody is a way to learn, a way to motivate us to think about different things and how we relate to people. If we're not curious about other people and what they think about life, I think we're missing out on a big part of what makes the world go round. Curiosity is the mother of invention.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
I would say that the foundation for learning is curiosity. It's a way for kids to connect things that they're interested in to new things that they're learning. So introducing a topic, our kids shouldn't learn and memorize. They should experience education. So introducing a question or a topic of interest and letting them explore that topic is how kids learn. And it's how we create learners. It's how we create kids that are interested in new things. The inventor of tomorrow is going to be the curious kid today.
Right. And you're facilitating that.
Yeah. We just have to provide the question and an environment where they can explore.
I've always been curious because my mom, she knew that my sister and I, she wouldn't be alive to completely raise us because she had type 1 diabetes. So she kind of packed in a whole life's living with me in the 12 years that I had her. It would rain and we'd go outside and walk in the rain. We'd turn over rocks and we'd look at what we'd find underneath that. And we'd go on nature walks. And when we'd drive into Portland if she saw something interesting like a dairy. I remember she stopped at a dairy once and took my sister and I in and said, would you show them how you milk the cows and what the process is? And she took us to nurseries and all sorts of interesting places and exposed us to things. And I think that's what kind of started my interest in checking things out and being curious about what was going on in the world. She read to us every day, and we went to the library every week, walk down to the library, and we'd get like 20 books, and then we'd walk 60 steps, and then we can sit and read for 20 minutes. It was just ingrained.
What I look for in people that I want to be friends with is curiosity. And, because curiosity is a major hallmark of being bright, because I think bright people are curious about everything. I think they like to know how things work. They like to know how things fit together. They like to create a big picture of how the world functions. They also like to know about other people. So they're curious about how other people think, what drives them, what motivates them. And I think, curiosity is what drives science. We don't live in the mud. We're not, hunters-gatherers because of science, and we live far longer than we used to. Of course, we also have far more sophisticated ways to kill each other too. But again, I think curiosity drives science.
An hour that goes by that some kind of curiosity doesn't pop into your head and you go to the internet. I mean, how many YouTube mechanics are there out there? I mean, I'm one of them. Oh, that's an easy fix. My goodness, I can do that. I don't have to get another mechanic involved.
Very different from when we grew up.
Oh, yes. Every situation you're in, there's someone you can bounce an idea off of and figure it out.
Lately, I think my curiosity has been why people act the way they do. I think a lot about the state of the world, and since I'm interested in psychology and what goes through people's heads, both why and maybe what emotions are driving that why. Social media is a big one right now. Why people do the things they do. How is it shaping people, and whether it's for good or for bad, right? Like some people are addicted, and so maybe some people are getting only one view of something and others are getting a completely different view, so they're going to react very differently to situations.
And not only that, they're coming from their own view too.
Yeah, maybe what did they go through as a kid that is making them react that way.
I'm always curious about someone's story.
Right.
Because you're reacting and you're doing this, and you're like, what happened to you?
When I think of curiosity, I think of truly just the love of learning and being interested in the world around me, both in the natural world and in the people who live in it, and also in questioning my own assumptions about things. And so being kind of curious of why do you think that? What makes you think that you're right about that? And when someone tells you something, do you think they're right, or do you have a different feeling on it? For me, because I tend to internalize things, to remind myself that sometimes other people's perceptions are almost always about them, not about me. For me, the main part about curiosity is, I think, learning new things, especially about the world, is the most exciting, fun thing there is.
I mean, the more we know, the more we know. We don't know it all.
Curiosity helps us learn, grow, and understand each other. But it doesn't always feel that easy. It's not always that simple.
When you're young, you're really curious. Little kids are curious. They aren't afraid. They go forward and find things that interest them and just dive right into it. But as you get older and your life just fills up and you don't have time to really think about something different that you'd like to do. But I'm kind of searching for curiosity now so that I can get to know some new people and have some new adventures.
When that word pops into my head, I think it's a positive thing because it's more people wanting to learn, people wanting to learn stuff that they don't know about yet. And people are always learning every day. And I love that the kids, again, that they're so innocent and young. They're just full of curiosity.
I think we lose it as we go.
I agree.
Because it scares us.
Yeah.
Curiosity is like in full bloom, 100% wide open when we're young. And then the dial gets turned down on curiosity. And then we feel like as we turn into adults, we're like, what I need to do is focus on what I know and master what I know. And I can kind of like, I can forget about the curiosity. I mean, kids are always asking you questions like, what is that? How's that work? What is that? And there's nothing more endearing to not be afraid to ask dumb questions the way a kid would. And as we get older, we're like, oh, I don't want to be it.
Oh, I feel stupid.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like just shedding that fear of like being dumb makes you so smart.
So I'm in the business of investigations, and I have made this observation that if you're not a curious person, it's very difficult to be an investigator. Your entire job revolves around gathering information, and it relies on you being curious in order to even identify what information you want to find. I have found if I'm not open to new ideas, new understanding, new information, which is the way I would define being curious, then I'm inclined to just come to hasty conclusions or miss obvious things that are out there. And to be curious to me is to be alive. Like you're growing, you're open to new understanding and idea. And that is where growth comes from. And I go back to what I'm talking about with investigators and detectives, et cetera. The people I've seen who struggle are either naturally closed off or they become closed off with age and time. And pretty soon they have all the answers already. And they don't really care about what people have to say.
That's actually more boring.
It is much more boring. It's something I can't even relate to because what's the point of even looking into anything if you already think you have all the answers? And I've found in that line of work that the people who are like that are the ones they miss big things. But I think being closed off prevents them from even seeing that they've made the mistake. And so it either becomes someone else's fault or they don't even recognize that a mistake was even made because that's just something that moves into the category of being resolved in their brain, and they're done with it.
I think curiosity to me means exploring. And right now, what's piquing my curiosity is how to keep a baby alive.
You're 2 weeks from having a baby, so you're learning a lot.
Yeah.
Learning baby. Yeah.
And then marriage on top of that, too. And Miko has actually been going to church. He's curious about my religion, and he started going to church so that even though we're so far apart, that he feels a lot closer to me because I'm religious. Now he's like, I want us to go to church to feel closer.
I think couples have to be curious about how the other one thinks. Otherwise, that's when you start shutting down. So stay open and stay talking.
Understanding, like you don't have to agree, but to understand is a big one as well.
So if you're not curious, you're not growing, you're not learning, your brain's not expanding, you're not being creative. I think if you want to be creative, you have to be curious. So I think curiosity can also go that way. So you have to have a fine line. You have to be like, oh, I'm curious enough to learn things and be intelligent and be safe. But if I'm too curious, it can be bad. It can make me anxious. It can make me hypervigilant. It can make me make up stories in my head.
Curiosity it can be a very adventurous thing to explore. If you're curious about something and you adventure out, you may find something out that you don't even want to know, that you have no idea that you would find. Curiosity can be very dangerous, but it also can be very rewarding.
I love curiosity. It's a way to discover something new, but most people don't really want the new.
Yeah, they don't want
the new. Back. People get fixed in their mindset and they aren't curious anymore. Because I think being curious, you have to be receptive and flexible. And I think flexibility is hard for most people. Yeah.
Curiosity is the desire to learn, but not learn or pry so much that curiosity killed the cat. Mind your own damn business.
So even when curiosity feels uncomfortable, maybe it's still worth following.
I would think that a lot of people would say curiosity killed the cat, and that was a warning to not be curious. But now it's so important to be curious about life, about each other. And so it's interesting how that's, for me at least, changed when at the beginning of probably my life, it was a warning to not be curious. And now it's something to be completely embraced.
I think it's kind of almost non-judgmental. It is a way that we can look at things that might be scary, that might be new without defensiveness or without pre-judgment or ideas of what it's going to be. In my experience with teen rehab, instead of being defensive, instead of assuming certain things, we can be curious with it. We can look at it without jumping to conclusions or without
feeling bad about examining it. It doesn't have to be a dirty secret. We can look at it. Why do we feel this way? Why do we act this way?
We talked about the Ted Lasso show where he's playing darts and he makes a bet. He said, if you were just a little bit curious, instead of instantly judging me, you would have asked me questions that would have made you not make that bet, kind of thing. But I think it's great in life that we just rush to judgment when we could just be a little bit curious and maybe have an understanding and ask questions.
When I was dating my now husband, my children wanted to know more about him. And so they were asking him questions. What do you do for a living? What's your job? Do you have a family? And later, after I married him, he said to me that he felt like he was interrogated. And I explained that growing up in my house, that if you showed curiosity towards someone, that showed that you cared about them, that you wanted to know more about them. And he took it as more as I was being interrogated. So you have to be careful with that.
It's perspective.
Yeah.
I'm curious about this book that we just heard about. It's called Reframe Your Brain. And I think that no matter what age you're at, you can always reframe your brain to think better and to look at different ways to think about things. I guess that's curiosity. Well, I think we all get stuck in our habits of thinking.
After listening to everyone, I realized curiosity isn't just about finding answers. It's about staying in the conversation long enough to understand something we didn't see at first. Because when curiosity is missing, we fill in the blanks ourselves. And that's where things start to fall apart. And I can't help but wonder how many things would be different if people just asked a few more questions. Maybe curiosity is about expanding our world, and security is about finding our footing inside it. That's our next word, security. Thank you for spending time with me. Stay curious, stay open, and keep the conversation going.